Okay, here we go. So in this video, we're going to talk about now that you've made parts, various parts of your cube project, how do you get them to fit together? So, because we're going to build them. We're going to build them virtually on Inventor in what's called an assembly file. So let's do that right now. So on your desktop, go ahead and find the I for Autodesk Inventor and open it again. This time when you go to open a file, last time we used part to make all of our different parts. Now we're going to come down to this next tier, which is called assembly, and we're actually going to use what's called a standard assembly. They call it IAM for Inventor Assembly. So we'll go ahead and open that. And in this, we're going to be able to take those parts that we made and bring them in to a single assembly. So once the assembly is open, we're going to come up here. We don't want this, place from content center. That's like a library. You can see all the pictures of different bolts in there. Those are things that somebody else already created that if you wanted to, just standard parts, you could bring them in. We're not going to do that. So click this little arrow and you want to go to place. And when we go to place, it's going to automatically bring you into your documents. Now I created a folder called Cube Project. And I'm going to click on that. And you can see I made a green part and a pink part. So I'm going to go ahead and bring them both in. So I'm going to open up the green part. Now the fun thing is when I'm bringing in the green part, I can click and I could bring it in 4 or 5 times if I wanted to. I don't really want that, but every time I click, it's going to bring it in until I right click and say, okay, that's enough. Now, since I didn't really want these others, I'm going to just go ahead and right click on it. And somewhere on there, delete. And I'm going to right click and delete. Okay, now I'm going to go back to place. And I'm going to go get my pink part. I'm going to bring it. I'm going to click, right click, and say okay. So now I have my green part and my pink part. Okay. Now, one other thing I want to show you in here is if I want to look at these from a different view, I can click on this cube over here. I can click on the front view. I could click to look at it from a top view. Okay, if I click on home, that's what we also call an isometric view. It looks at the front, the top, and the right side faces equally. And home will make sure you see everything on the screen. I can also go to this orbit over here if I want. I can click and I can orbit these things around so I can see them from different angles. Okay, so let's decide how we want to place these. Let's say that the pink part, this kind of a U-shaped piece, is going to fit right across here on the green one in this middle level. Now, if I want to be able to move this guy, I can. I can come up here to free move. If I click on that, I can grab a part and move it around. If I go to free rotate, I can click a part and I can rotate just it, not everything. So I'm going to orient this guy and say, hey, you know, this guy actually needs to fit right about right in there. That's where I want him to fit. Okay? So I'm going to orient it kind of like it's going to be. Now, in order to get it to actually fit there for the assembly, we're going to use what are called constraints. And constraints are kind of like rules. We're telling things how they need to interact with one another. So I'm going to click on constraints. And you're going to get really good at these. Right now, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, there's so many constraints I don't know what to do. But you're going to get really good at them. The 2 main ones are called mate and flush. Mate is when you bring things together, kind of like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And flush is when things are on the same plane, kind of like computer monitors. The front face of the computer monitors are all on the same plane. So we might say that they're flush. Okay. So in this one, maybe I'm going to start with mate. So I'll just leave it. If you look at it, by selecting this, I have the option of mate or flush. Okay. And maybe I'm going to mate 2 faces. I'm going to say, hey, the back of this green face here, I want to mate that to, I'm going to orbit a little bit. I'm going to mate it to this face right here of the pink guy. And you'll get a nice satisfying little click. And if you look, see those 2 faces are now together. Isn't that nice? Now we need to hit apply for it to actually stay. So I'm going to hit apply. Now I'm going to do a flush. I'm going to say, okay, problem is this guy's too far in there. He's intersecting with the green guy. So I'm going to tell this face of the pink guy to be flush to this face of the green guy. And you see how those just evened out? I'm going to go ahead and apply that. And now I'm going to go back to mate again. I'm going to say, hey, I want the top face of that green, and I'm going to orbit to be right with, turn off orbit, they're right with the bottom face of the pink. When I do that, they're now locked into place. I can click on this, and you can see that the pink is exactly where I wanted him relative to the green. Okay, that's how it works. Now that took 3 steps, and if we wanted to see those 3 steps, I can come over here. and there's a little plus. Can't really see it on my screen. There's a little plus next to both of the parts, and if I click on that plus, it'll show you the different mates that I put on it. Okay, now if you decide you didn't like one of them, you messed up on one, that's fine. You can just right-click and delete it. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete all because that took 3 steps. I'm going to show you how you can do it now in 2 steps. So now they're totally free to move again. If you do edges instead of faces, you can do this in 2 steps. I'm going to tell the bottom edge of this pink guy to be right with this top edge of this green guy. I'm going to hit apply. And what you'll see now is that those edges have to stay together, but this guy still spins and he can still slide up and down on that edge. Okay, so we still need one more constraint. So I'm going to go back into constraints again, and this time I'm going to tell the bottom edge of the pink guy to be right with this top edge of this green guy here, and now it's totally locked into place. Okay, that only took 2 steps. So it's totally up to you. Do you like using the faces or do you like using the edges? And either one will work. And for the cube project, you're really only using mate and flush are the 2 constraints that you'll need to use. Later on, we'll get into some of the fancier constraints, but for now, it's just mate and flush. All right? Go ahead and use the place to get all your different parts onto your assembly and assemble your cube together. All right? Good luck.